Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking an incredible journey through one of the absolute most fascinating periods in history, medieval India. We're going to explore the massive, unparalleled expansion of the Mughal Empire, and then look at the fierce, brilliant Maratha resistance that eventually rose up to challenge it. It's a massive story, full of monumental architecture, lightning-fast conquests, groundbreaking administration, and, that unyielding human desire for self-governance.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We're kicking things off with echoes of an empire, then forging the Mughal reign. After that, we'll dive into Akbar's policies of integration and his social and educational reforms. Then we'll break down the Mansabdari system and finally wrap up with the phenomenal rise of Shivaji.
So, Section 1. Echoes of an Empire, the Architectural Hook. Before we get into the rulers and the epic battles, let's just take a second to look at the physical legacy they left behind. Grounding ourselves in the sheer, literal scale of their world really helps us grasp the kind of power we're talking about today. I mean, look at the Taj Mahal. It brilliantly illustrates the immense wealth and vision of the Mughal era. Shah Jahan built this massive masterpiece of pure white marble right on the banks of the river Yamuna in Agra to honor his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal. And if you look closely at the intricate floral designs on the walls, that's a decoration method using semi-precious stones called pietra dura. The central dome alone shoots up over 56 meters. It stands today not just as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but as a mind-blowing testament to the resources this empire commanded.
And moving over from Agra, we've got the majestic Red Fort in Delhi. Shah Jahan actually built this massive complex when he decided to shift his capital. Constructed with this brilliant mix of red sandstone and marble, it wasn't just a fortress, right? It was the beating heart of imperial power. Inside, you'd find the lavishly ornamented Divan-e-Khas, which was the hall where the legendary peacock throne was placed, basically just to dazzle and impress visiting dignitaries and princes.
Which brings us to Section 2, Forging the Mughal Reign, the Conqueror's Timeline.
Now, monuments like those, they don't just magically appear out of nowhere. The really crucial point here is how incredibly fast Babur, who founded the Mughal Empire, consolidated the central power needed to actually build them. At the time, India was ruled by these breakaway kingdoms of the Delhi Sultanate, with zero central authority. So invited by Daulat Khan Lodhi to oust Ibrahim Lodhi, Babur just sweeps in. He wins the First Battle of Panipat in 1526. Literally the very next year, he defeats Rana Sanga at the Battle of Kanwa. And then, in 1529, he secures a huge victory against Afghan forces at the Battle of Gaigra. That's 3 massive, empire-defining victories in just 4 years before he died in 1530. Talk about a rapid rise.
And that brings us to his grandson, Akbar. Notice this totally pivotal moment here. Akbar ascended the throne when he was only 13 years old. 13! Think about that. The empire was highly unstable at that point, and he virtually had to reconquer the whole thing. Guided by his tutor Bahram Khan, young Akbar managed to secure a massive victory over Hemu, the vizier of Adil Shah, at the Second Battle of Panipat. That specific victory is what firmly re-established the Mughal foothold in Delhi and Agra.
Section 3. Akbar's Policies of Integration, from warlord to statesman.
But here's the thing, Akbar didn't just conquer with swords, he was actually incredibly forward-thinking. He realized that to sustain an empire this vast and diverse, he really had to unite its people. Honestly, it's a principle of equitable governance that modern administrations are still striving for today. He went ahead and completely abolished the jizya, which was a poll tax previously required of non-Muslims, along with the pilgrim tax. He put a hard stop to the practice of forcibly converting prisoners of war to Islam. He also formed these really strategic matrimonial alliances, marrying Rajput princesses like Harkabai, which made Rajput rulers equal partners in his government. To top it off and foster real understanding, he built the Ibadat Khana, a hall of prayer, in 1575. He actually invited theologians and intellectuals from all religions to just come together and freely discuss spiritual matters. He even took it a step further by creating something completely new called Din-e-Ilahi. This was a new faith promulgated by Akbar himself, and it leaned heavily on the principle of the oneness of God. The main goal here was Sula Kul, which translates to universal harmony. It stressed virtues like courage, loyalty, and justice, essentially trying to govern all public policies under a unified banner of harmony and, of course, loyalty to the emperor.
Section 4. Social and Educational Reforms, a Progressive Shift. Alongside all that religious integration, Akbar instituted some sweeping societal changes that were, quite frankly, remarkably progressive for the 16th century. He really challenged the status quo of his era. For instance, he ordered local officials, known as kotwals, to check the forcible practice of sati, which was the burning of a widow on her husband's funeral pyre. Now, while he allowed it for those who chose it of their own free will, he strictly opposed forcing anyone into it. He also legalized widow remarriage and raised the legal age of marriage to 14 for girls and 16 for boys. On top of all that, he completely revamped the educational system. He put way more emphasis on moral education and actually introduced secular subjects, like agriculture, geometry, astronomy, logic, and history, right into the standard syllabus.
Moving on to Section 5. The Mansabdari System Explained, Bureaucracy of an Empire.
Okay, so think about this for a second. You have this vast territory, a massive military, and these sweeping social policies. How do you actually manage and pay for an empire of this size? Well, the genius of the Mansabdari system introduced by Akbar is how it categorized power. It basically served as a historical blueprint for the highly structured administrative hierarchies we see today. Every officer was assigned a rank, or a mansab, but this rank was cleverly split into two crucial parts, Zat and Sawar. Your Zat fixed your personal status and your salary in the court, so the higher your Zat, the more prestigious you were. Simple enough, right? But your Sawar rank dictated your military responsibility. Specifically, it laid out exactly how many cavalrymen or horses you were required to maintain for the empire's army.
And how were all these guys paid? Definitely not by draining the royal treasury with endless cash salaries. Notice the massive scale of this system. We're talking about ranks ranging from 10 all the way up to 5,000 for the top nobles. Instead of handing out cash, these Mansabdars received their salaries as revenue assignments called jagirs. They were given the rights to the revenue of specific lands, and that revenue was collected by their servants. Meanwhile, the Mansabdars themselves usually didn't even live in their jagirs. They were stationed wherever the empire actually needed them to serve. It was a brilliantly decentralized way to fund a highly centralized military.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 6, the rise of Shivaji, the ultimate disruptor.
Because as history always shows us, every great administrative machine eventually runs into a formidable challenger. Enter Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Born in the hill fort of Shivneri in western India, his life left an absolutely indelible mark on Indian history. He was profoundly influenced by his mother, Jijabai, who instilled in him this deep, deep sense of pride, a responsibility towards his land, and a fierce sense of justice. Shivaji emerged to basically embody the absolute spirit of resistance against the Mughal Empire, driving a relentless quest for Swarajya, or self-governance.
Just look at this timeline to truly appreciate his meteoric rise. At just 16 years old, he gathered a band of loyal followers and captured his very first fort, Torna. That moment marked the kickoff of an incredibly strategic campaign to acquire forts and territories across the region. And this whole campaign culminated in 1674 with one of the most significant milestones in his life, his magnificent coronation as Chhatrapati at the Raigad fort. Make no mistake, this wasn't just some fancy ceremony. It was a loud, formal declaration of Maratha sovereignty. It established an independent kingdom, completely autonomous from Mughal domination.
Now, what's crucial to understand is that Shivaji wasn't just a warrior. He was an incredibly innovative statesman. His administration was known for progressive policies and serious efficiency. Recognizing the critical importance of the sea, a strategic concept that, by the way, remains the absolute backbone of modern global defense and trade, he actually went and established a robust naval force to safeguard his coastlines. He instituted a highly disciplined military, promoted trade, and very much like the early Mughals, he strongly championed religious tolerance and justice for all his subjects. Oh, and we definitely can't forget his legendary ingenuity. I mean, he famously pulled off a daring, out-of-the-box escape from Aurangzeb's imprisonment in Agra in 1666, totally outsmarting the very empire that was trying to crush him.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to really ponder. On one hand, we have the majestic, systemic grandeur of the Mughals, who integrated a massive subcontinent through complex administration and stunning architecture. But on the other hand, we have the fiercely independent, unyielding spirit of the Marathas under Shivaji, fighting tooth and nail for self-rule and local sovereignty. Both absolutely shaped the very fabric of history. So, between the empire builders and the ultimate disruptors, whose legacy do you think echoes louder today? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep asking those great questions.